Tommy tonight?
No, he went to see his daughter.
Oh, okay.
What does the P stand for?
Okay, Daniel, thank you.
The meeting tonight is for the conduct of town business by the town board. The public is invited to participate at the items marked on the agenda public comment. During that segment of the meeting, if you have a question or comment for the supervisor, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Please state your full name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation.
Thank you, Danielle. I'd like to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for all our brave men and women fighting all over the world for democracy and freedom. Thank you. Also, this is a public hearing amending various sections of 155 zoning. So we've been through this a couple of times. I think we come to a conclusion that we got it right now with the county and with our code enforcer. So I'll leave the public hearing open for a couple of minutes. If anybody has anything to say, we'll wait for James to come.
I vote to close the public.
All right, I'll leave it open for a couple of minutes. Motion to approve agenda. I need a motion?
No motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Motion to approve minutes from the September 10th, 2018 Town Board meeting. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Authorized payment of bill in the amount of $252,333.02. A motion to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None being said, we'll pay the bills. On this agenda, I mean, we have the tentative budget, and the tentative budget, as you know, is myself and Councilman Corcoran met with all the department heads, and we go over what they need. And right now, our tentative budget is pretty high. So we go to the preliminary, which then becomes the final. But the preliminary we'll discuss, and we'll try to take that down. I think right now we're around 5% increase.
Yep.
4.8. And we have some ideas where to cut. So this way we'll be below the 2% tax cap. I'd like to thank all the board members, especially Mr. Councilman Corcoran, for meeting with all the department heads. I think we have a good idea where we're going. And unfortunately, during the process, we have to eliminate certain things that we really don't want to, but we have to. We want to be below the 2% cap. So I think within the next week or two, we'll notify the board of where the cuts are going to be, and if the board agrees, then we'll move on. So that's the process. We go through it every year. We don't like it, but that's the process. So we try to save the taxpayers' money. Moving on, so I need a motion to accept tentative budget for the year 2019.
No motion.
Need a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Tonight we have presentations from Green Lumber Company, Jordan Heller. Mr. Heller, could you step to the microphone and state your name and your company? You could get right up there, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, my name is Jordan Heller. I'm a forester for Green Lumber Company. Supervisor Lanzetta reached out to me about conducting some timber harvesting on a few parcels of land that the town of Marlborough owns. I was before the planning board back in May for a project up on Mount Zion, and that went pretty smoothly. We're actually about to start that harvest, so you'll see shortly what can be expected. There's 3 parcels that I've identified timber on, and I think the town had marked about 6 years ago by another forester. Essentially, I went through with 2 of my co-workers, and we remarked the timber that had already been marked. We conducted our own tally. We found more volume than what the previous forester found, and the 3 parcels are the landfill, a little bit up on the reservoir, and a little bit at the Shantz Memorial Park. We essentially assessed it for about $50,000. I've presented Supervisor Lanzetta with a formal note stating the tree count by species and the value. And essentially, how the woods is marked, it's marked for management, meaning, you know, you've got a lot of agriculture in the town of Marlborough. So, you know, essentially, we're taking out some of the dead, dying, or diseased trees first, and then any residual trees that are of value that could go to open up the understory for new tree growth. That's the goal. There are a lot of invasive species in the woods due to the dense overstory. That's kind of common for the Hudson River Valley. You just get a lot of invasive plants that come up along the river, and the traffic from New York City and landscapers and all that stuff. So once that canopy is removed, the goal is that added sunlight will get advanced tree regeneration of good species back in. That's it in a nutshell. Does the board have any questions?
What are good species?
What's that?
What are good species?
Any of the timber species. So what I found on the parcels are tulip mostly, tulip tree, red oak, black oak, white oak, chestnut oak, some sugar maple, a little bit of red maple, and some black birch. So that's what you could, you know, expect to come back. Mostly hard maple or sugar maple, because they're a shade tolerant species, meaning they can take dense shade from the canopy, and you already have some of that regeneration in the understory.
And you're a certified forester, is that?
Well, New York State doesn't have a certification for foresters. I do have a 4-year degree in forest resources management from there's a professional society for foresters, and that's the Society of American Foresters. And the program I went through was an accredited SAF program. So if you wanted to learn more about that, you could go on to safenet.safnet.org, and there's more information about that. But as of right now, there's no accreditation or certification for foresters yet, but DEC is moving that way. So.
Are you, yeah, DEC, that's my one concern. Is this something that the DEC normally approves, reviews, has any opinion of? How does that work?
No. The only time that we get involved with the DEC is if there's a stream crossing or if there's endangered species. But in terms of notifying the DEC of a harvest, there is no such notification yet. That did go to Albany back in, I want to say, early spring, and it got shut down for now, timber harvest notification process. But as of right now, there's nothing, which is nice, but it's coming. So.
Yeah. And what kind of footprint do you leave? I mean, when you do your harvesting and you leave, what does it look like?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I could take the board members to a site if you wanted to take a field trip, but essentially, you know, the straight portion of the tree is taken out for logs, and the top is left in the woods. You know, the top gets, you know, it's a technical term, lopped down, meaning it gets cut so it lays flat. But, you know, that wherever the tree falls and the top lays, you know, that's where it gets chopped up, so.
And what about damage to the surface with your equipment? Do you use large logging equipment to pull this stuff out, or?
Yeah, the guy that I have in mind for this project, he's got basically it's a four-wheel drive articulated tractor with a winch on it. And that's what they pull the logs out with. Any trails that get rutted up, if there's any rutting at all, they get smoothed over post-harvest. On any of the steep ground, we put what we call water bars in that divert the water off the trails so you don't have eroded trails. Most of the ground on all three parcels is pretty hard, though. I mean, Marlborough's kind of known for its rock, so
Rocky, yeah.
shale.
Do you plant grass if it's necessary and then really?
For the landing areas, we don't always do it, but depending on the time of year. But you know, we'd be doing this harvest mostly in the winter if this was to go through. But if it was wanted, we could come back and spread sea and straw to help, you know, stabilize the landing area. But as far as skid trails, we don't generally seed and hay them just because the vegetation comes in pretty quick. And you know, if it was a steep slope and highly erodible soils, I'd consider it, but, you know, in terms
You don't see that in this
No.
case? Okay.
So last time you talked, we were talking about the endangered species.
Yep.
Did you, you were looking into it?
Yep.
Did you see from the DEC? Is there?
I did send you a PDF and an email containing all three reports for each of the parcels.
Okay.
It didn't kick back any well, the park kicked back the sturgeon, but I think that's because it's within X
Yes,
amount of
right. I
miles
remember
of
you talking,
the
sorry.
Hudson. So, but shockingly and thankfully, there weren't any Indiana bat, northern long-eared bat, bog turtle, box turtle, all that fun stuff.
Endangered species, there
Yeah.
weren't any?
Not yet, at least. That changes by the day. So.
So this should help with our invasive species, though, you're saying? It
That's
should cut them out?
That's the intent. Unfortunately, the park does have a lot of invasive species growing in the understory pretty
Knotweed?
well already.
Mainly, which ones would you say? Knotweed or?
No knotweed, no vines, which is nice, but it's not witch hazel, which is pretty common. I actually walked the park with my contractor today because I wanted to look at landing areas with him. And there's it's a woody shrub that I can't remember the name of right now, but it is all over that place. The logging will help it, you know, when the skidder drives over it, it'll crush those trees. And it doesn't sprout back. I know that it doesn't sprout back from the stump, but it's a problem. I mean, if you wanted to spend the time to spray the area with an herbicide, you know, over that 15 acres, it'd probably be a benefit. But the reservoir and the landfill are good candidates for tree regeneration as it is, minimal invasives. So
This will help that.
yeah, absolutely.
And what do you do with this lumber?
Basically, we transport the logs to our mill. I work out of the mill in Davenport, New York, which is the Oneonta area. And we saw it into lumber, and we're complicated because we're like the largest sawmill in the Northeast, hardwood sawmill in the Northeast. So all of our lumber is sold to our parent company, Bailey, as green lumber, and it has nothing to do with the name. It's not kiln-dried lumber.
Right.
So that gets transferred to one of our drying facilities. It gets dried, and then, you know, China's a big player in the hardwood lumber market, and
So most of it goes to construction type purposes?
yeah, it's a lot of it's millwork, furniture.
Furniture, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I thought, okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
Are we,
Huh?
no,
Are you finished, Councilman Baker?
no, that's okay.
So,
Hey,
as
good
you
job.
know, the board has given me permission to have a lawyer look at the contract. She has not gotten back to me
Okay.
so far. She had a few questions, I answered them. Basically, she wanted to know if it's just the 3 parcels, and I said yes, and that's where most of the lumber is coming from. So, as soon as we hear that, and then I'll ask the board if they want to move forward, and I'll get in touch with you, and
Okay.
we'll see what
You're not
Way in
related
the
to
end.
anybody in Marlborough, are you?
What's that?
You're not related to anybody in Marlborough, are you?
No.
There are Hellers in Marlborough, so.
Not that I'm aware of, at least. I know my Uncle Chris lives over in Lloyd, but I don't think he's migrated over here yet. If any of you would like to go see a harvest and what it looks like, my contractor will be moving his skidder to the Mount Zion parcels. I would encourage you
That's
to...
Mr. Fuso's,
Yep, and I would encourage you guys to come up there and take a look at it in about a week, just to get an idea.
How far up is that on Mount Zion?
Well, if you, I come in, we're bringing the log trucks in through New Unionville Road, so we're actually, the harvest is in Marlborough, the trucking is in Plattekill, so that was unique to me, but.
It's probably easier.
A lot easier, yeah, I mean, that road.
That road's treacherous.
Yeah, I mean, you can take a pickup down it, but it's pretty narrow, and somebody dumps a bunch of apples at the south end of it. I drove through there back in the early summer, and I was like, man, it smells like hard cider back here. It's just fermenting.
No, I don't think anybody does that.
I don't think the deer like it.
The deer like it.
No,
The deer
I
love
wouldn't
it.
be up there for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
George.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
It might be a good thing, you know, I noticed, especially down at the park, we lost a couple of big trees to rot, and we had to pay to get them out.
Well, the best thing for a forest is, and New York State can't do it because of the way it was chartered, but the best thing to do is to log a forest, because we've lost a lot of species of birds. And just because you take a field, which would be good for pheasant, that grows up, creates a canopy, the pheasants can't live there anymore, they're running out of fields. So it brings back a lot of wildlife. Well, you can't, because what it is, yeah, I know, but the way it was chartered, when they actually made the state forests, is because it was clear cut. They were sending all the wood down to New York City. So there were mountains without any trees on them. So when those charters were made to make the state forests, well, the rules, it says right in here, you cannot cut on a state forest, period. You can't log it, even though it's beneficial to the environment, and it could bring in money. It does have a monetary gain. The state can't do anything about it because of the way the charter was written. So, but it really has devastated wildlife, and it's actually would be great for hunting in the Catskills if they were actually to do some responsible logging. But it moves the deer around, it moves the birds around, it moves a bunch of stuff around. So, right?
Thank you, Al.
See you.
All right.
Thank you.
Any comments on the agenda? None being had. Item 8, new business, online water payments. We were just talking about this with Ralph. And so where he works for the town, I guess it just didn't happen. So could you give us an explanation to the board about online water payment with a certain company that you recommend?
Sure. So BAS is who we are currently using for our online water, or not online, for our water billing. We switched to them, was it a year ago or so? They had to work out some kinks. It seems to be working pretty smoothly now. So I was asking Civic Plus, our website, the website company, and also BAS about online water billing. It's been a question from the residents of the town that have been asking, can we pay by credit card? Can we pay online? Something we've been talking about internally for a while. So when I looked into it, there is an online portal that we can sign up with BAS that they gave us a quote for $800 initially for the first year, and it's $300 per year thereafter. And
Here's your note.
am I right?
Danielle.
Yes, $300. And that is, it includes the portal, the online portal, system configuration, the training, Also, you can call BAS anytime you have a question, or they'll set it up. We can put the URL onto our website. They'll set it up with us and work with us with what we do, what we want to do, et cetera. I actually called Town of Walk Hill today just to see, because they use BAS for their online water billing too, just to kind of pick their brains about how it works and stuff, and they seem to like it. And it would make, internally, it would make all of our lives a little bit easier too. Tina would just need to run a report daily. If she's not there, I could back her up. If I'm not there, Chris could back me up. We could figure it out how we could do that. And once she runs that report, it's just a couple of clicks, and it credits the people's accounts. So she won't have to manually enter the payments. And Colleen and I won't have stacks of mail. So I'm hoping that people will pay online. The only thing that might deter people is the fee. There is a fee. Obviously, the town can't pay for people to use their credit cards. When you use your credit card at any store or there's a merchant fee that company has to pay. So the town can't pay for that. So that would fall on the person who is making the payment. So those fees were, for MasterCard, Visa, Discover, and American Express, it was 2.45% of the payment, with a minimum of $1.95, whichever is greater. Debit cards would be a flat fee of $3.95. And then e-checks, that's an option. We don't have to accept that, but we can. Would be $1.75 flat fee.
What was the third option?
E-check.
E-check?
E-check, okay.
Yeah.
And people have accounts now, so they would create a user ID and password on the
Correct.
portal.
Yep.
Use that would connect to their account, and show what they owe, and boom.
You know what? I'm not 100% sure about making an account. I think the portal has,
People's names?
I think you can put in your account number or your name or whatever. You have the option of putting in one of
Okay.
3 to 5
It
things or
ties
something
back
like
to
that,
the-
and it pulls up their account.
Back to the
Yeah.
account somewhere.
They'll still get paper bills, but a lot of people do come in. Every time we do the water billing, I lost it, or my landlord has it, or whatever, and we have to reprint bills. And so this, hoping, will help alleviate some of that too. I'm thinking if we do move forward with this, we can send out a mailing in the next, maybe not the next water billing, maybe the following water billing, because we still have some things, we would still have some things to do with BAS before, we wouldn't make it in time for this next water billing. And I don't know if you guys are prepared for that, or if it would have to be on next year's budget or what, but.
I think it makes sense, though, to use BAS. BAS is the company we use to do the water billing, so it all works together.
Oh, yeah.
You said,
Again,
I'm sorry.
I'm just, and the fee compared to Civic Plus was like unbelievable.
For this Civic Plus was not compatible with
Yeah, it was-
so we couldn't even do it, actually. Chris and I participated in a webinar. I did some research with Civic Plus, but after talking to BAS, Civic Plus, they're not compatible, so we wouldn't be able to use Civic Plus for
It
water
wouldn't make sense.
We don't want.
at all. Yeah. The web, they have a CP Pay, it's called, but we couldn't use them.
So basically, even if I didn't want to pay by credit card, I could go online and see exactly how much I owe.
From what I understand, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
and then I could come in and pay the clerk.
Yep.
Okay, instead of, I know that Tina's inundated by telephone calls.
Yes.
You know, how much do I owe?
Yep.
You know, blah, blah, blah.
And I think with a mailing in the next, well,
So they can
whenever
see it,
we're
yeah.
ready, a mailing in, hopefully people will read it and, and know that we offer this. And I think it'll also increase traffic on our website too, for other things.
I think a lot of people will use it too, because I mean, I pay everything electronically. I write one check a month, because one payment can't be processed electronically, which drives me nuts. So I pay everything electronically.
Yeah.
I don't like stamps anymore,
Yeah.
you know? So,
But some people don't like to.
Some
No,
people
so
don't
they
like
just
to,
have that
and
system.
some people may not want to pay the fee. For example,
Right.
most of the bills you pay online don't have a fee. I know with Central Hudson,
Well, it's in there, but you don't
they,
see it.
if you pay by credit card, they charge a couple dollars. I'm not, probably because they can't,
So you say the initial cost
that
for
either.
BAS is $800?
It's
You get
peanuts.
the portal and the programming and the training,
yes,
and then after that, it's $300 a year?
yes.
Okay.
That's ridiculously low. I mean, I don't
I
see how they
think that's
do-
great.
because they're making
Yeah.
money, no, because they're making money on the payments. That's just getting in the door price, and then they're gonna make, they're gonna make money
I'm sure the
processing those payments
software's
forever.
created, it's not too hard to just.
Forte is the
Usually
company
they'll-
that
You gotta
processes
solve
the
a lot of it, I
payments.
guess.
I'm not sure
I
they
think
keep
that's the name
track.
of it. Forte, F-O-R-T-E. But yeah, I would imagine
Well,
maybe
it's-
BAS gets a little,
Yeah, but it's,
piece
yeah,
of that, I
because they
don't
get
know.
it back. It's just like the ATM that sits in stores. If you put an ATM in your store, it might be a $2.50 fee to you.
Right.
But if I'm the proprietor of the store, you who own that ATM machine are giving me 75 cents per transaction. So it's.
I
they're-
think people will do it, because a
Everyone's
lot of
making- yeah.
times people
Well, I
come
think
to
so.
our window for whatever it is, and they don't have the cash or a check, and they go to the ATM downstairs or at Stewart's, and they pay that, whatever that fee is.
They
I
go
don't know how
down
much
here
it
and
is,
pay a
$2?
dollar, sign a $2. What is it now, Jerry, down here, $1.75 or $2.50? $2.75,
Yeah.
they come
Yeah.
down and they use that, so.
Most of the time, they don't hesitate, they just go and they get it, and they don't care about the fee.
We shouldn't
so.
be doing it. That's what we should be doing, this kind of.
So,
I think so.
Yeah.
somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll
to,
make that motion.
I'll second it.
And I want to thank Danielle for doing a lot of research on this, so.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you,
You're
Danielle.
welcome.
And now, Danielle, just one question I had, is this add to your workload, because you're gonna have something to do with this
I
now?
think this will lessen our workload, because it will cut back on the mail and possibly the foot traffic as well,
But
so
you're gonna be trained in this software as well as Chris and Tina?
I think all of us should, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it doesn't.
So,
I don't think it's really that intense. I think we really
Yeah.
just have to set it
Can't
up.
be that difficult.
Yeah.
and Tina's very familiar with BAS.
Yep, yep. And our clerk system
And
is
you are.
BAS.
Yep.
We have to call them every now and then, and they're
It's a
very
good,
helpful.
It's a good match. So I have a motion, I guess, to
Second.
spend the $800 for the first year by Councilman
I made the motion. Alan seconded it, I think.
Yes,
Baker and second by Allen, Councilman Keenek.
Got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then this year
I just
we're
want
gonna
to
do
add, ooh, sorry.
And opposed? So moved.
Chris and Charlie are very happy about it, too. Chris will.
Danielle, one
yeah.
question though, I didn't ask you it through email, is if the payment is late and they do it through there obviously, it's automatically gonna put that
I
on
think that penalty is going to go on automatically, yeah.
So
Once
our
that
penalty
date.
already
built
goes
in
on.
the
Yeah,
system, right?
yeah. It's built into the.
It is now,
water
right?
billing
Yeah,
system.
yeah.
That's good. All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Danielle,
Thanks,
for all the
Danielle.
hard work and researching it. So October the 8th meeting is Columbus Day. I guess I put it down here. I think we usually have it anyhow on that night. So I don't think the board has a problem with that. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'll be in Wisconsin, so Mr. Baker will be
I won't be
conducting.
here that day either.
I kind of have a feeling I'm going to a football game. I'm not kidding, I think I'm going to Carolina.
I'm gonna be in North Carolina October 8th.
I'm going down to
For
watch,
a wedding.
I'm going to watch the Panthers play.
Tuesday the 9th it is.
So maybe we do have to
We might have to move that.
move it.
Where do you suggest, when will you be back? In Allen?
I'll be back on the 9th, but
Yeah,
I'm away from the 5th to the 8th.
I'll be back on the, hold on. I'll be back late night, well, possibly the morning of the 9th.
But just skip that week.
Can we just do it the 15th? We'll do a 15th and a 22nd meeting that month. It'll be week to week. Unless we do our,
Whatever the board, I'll be gone, so I
actually,
think
no,
I'll be back.
we'll
the
run into the
15th.
planning board, won't we, on a Monday?
Yeah.
But we can always do, I mean, we
Tuesday,
probably could reserve enough room
train
upstairs. Let me just go a head count here. We could probably be able to do it upstairs.
When do you get back, Al?
No, if we move it
Yeah, when you
upstairs,
get
either the 1st or the 15th.
When do you get back?
I think I get back around the 15th, something like that. All right, let's talk
could do
about
it
it
the
through
9th,
email and see
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll figure it
what's
out.
going on. We'll figure it out. No sense having a meeting if everybody's not going to be here.
Well, I'll be
No,
here,
we
but
won't be
nobody
able
else
to
will be
quorum.
here.
Except
Howard and
you.
Eddie could have it.
Maybe
Eddie-
you and Eddie won't have a quorum.
Can't do anything.
Can't pass it.
We need alternate board members.
Yeah.
So, moving right along. We did receive from the chairman of the planning board a request to change the escrow fees. I think that went through a lot of emails. So, he's saying that the lot line revision, Town of Marlborough current charges $300. He proposes that we double it to $600. I think that's about the only one he requested, right? Did I get that wrong?
I think there were more than that.
There was a bunch of them
Yeah,
there.
Was there?
yeah.
So I
There
got
was
the
a lot of
three.
discussion back and
We
forth
had
on
a
that.
lot of talk about it,
Yeah.
but
And
he
also
said he
we
gave
talked
us
about
that whole
the,
spreadsheet, so
The, you have that sheet, Scott?
you have it up, Howard, or no?
I don't have it up yet.
I'll look at
When are we getting those those
Yeah, exactly.
laptops?
They're here.
Whatever we're getting.
I'd probably bring
On
up here
tops.
Chris Brand.
Yeah.
Escrow review.
I don't know why I just pointed this
What's the
one out. I
date?
guess he was giving us an explanation, but this is the only one I have.
What's the date on it, Scott?
It's August 29th. The original was, yeah, August 29th, and he has a document he sent out. He wanted Town of Marlborough current. He wants to make the, 500 plus, what the hell is it? Okay, so the current lot line is,
Oh, here it is.
the current is 500, he wants to add 150. These are for subdivision fees.
Yeah,
For
and
a
then
single
you
unit.
asked for,
And then 750 is current, he wants to add 150 to 900. This is per unit,
oh, it's a spreadsheet, huh?
yeah. I would just say we make a motion to accept Chris's.
I think we all were in agreement on it.
Yeah, we are.
After he sent all this out, he had documentation to
Yeah,
back
Tommy
it up.
even had some input in on it.
That we
Yep.
would make the recommendation to implement these changes, that's all.
Okay.
But he had this whole sheet.
Yeah, I mean, they
Yeah.
were definitely in line with our neighbors,
Yeah,
or if you, depending on how you consider our neighbors, way below some of them. So I was okay with them.
I
Like
was
I
fine
think
with
I said in Ulster, the last Ulster County Planning Board meeting, I said, and there was a discussion about this, and Dennis was going to sort of do a survey of all of the towns to see what their rec fees are, and I don't think I've seen that yet, but it's something that every town's struggling with, so.
Should we wait until we get that information from Dennis?
I think we can move forward without that.
You
the
can,
only question I had that I didn't know if we wanted, remember we said, do we want to increase the rec fees?
Yeah, and that's, he had on that sheet that, of course, Plattekill is
lower.
very low, but Lloyd is $2,500 rec fees per unit, and Newburgh is $2,000 recreation fee per unit.
And we're-
And Esopus is $2,000, and
And
we're
we're
at
15?
1,500.
Yeah, so that was the only thing, I think if everybody surrounding us is in the $2,000, then we should go to at least $2,000. I don't know what you guys think.
I think that one we have to do by a resolution or wait to the, probably
Right,
wait
for
for
the
the
reorg.
reorg.
But if, when we get to that point, that's probably a good number, I'm thinking.
Something to look
If
at.
I agree.
everybody's in that ballpark around us.
I agree. I think we should
So-
change it to 2,000. Okay.
Al, Tim's got a question.
What's it?
I know we could probably sit around and chat.
We could squeeze you in.
Tim Lawton, Milton. Can you just get a little explanation of what the rec fee covers, or what it's for, or why it should be increased, or, you know, the
There's a
whole...
whole thing in lieu of land for recreation when you have a big development. So by law, because they can't put up a big recreation for, let's say, Bayside, right? It's 104 apartments.
Okay.
And if you figure per 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom, so the population in there, you can't supply enough recreation. So there's this law per according to the law, whatever the land value is, that you put a value on that they would use for recreation. Now, if they had big fields and they had ball fields and stuff like that, then that would eliminate that. But usually during a subdivision, they don't have all that stuff.
So it's a developer's fee, basically.
It's a developer's fee,
Okay.
exactly. So, and that goes into the recreation fee, which we use in turn, it's a fund for the park, or the Milton Landing Park. That's what it's used for.
That's why you see a lot of these developers put recreational buildings on their sites and stuff,
To get away from...
to try to
Well, to build a
lower.
community building, to put a community
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, they try to
So
limit.
why would it be based on a flat rate and not based on something about the head count in the development?
Well, according to the planning board and their law, it's the, you know, and I apologize, I don't know the actual wording, but
That's fine.
when they do, the planning board,
Rec
when
fee,
they
I
have
think
to
it is, yeah.
require the rec fees to be paid, they do a whole paragraph. And I paraphrased it to say that that was because they don't have the proper property for that recreation of that community. And I could get you that, and you'll find out.
But I'm thinking of, and this is a...
Don't
when-
over
It's not for an
complicate it.
ordinary builder, like if you're building a house.
No, I understand that, but I'm thinking when Mr. Gerantine built Milton Harvest,
Yep,
that location might house, let's say, 50 people.
yep.
And if you're talking about Bayside, is going to
Well,
house
senior
200
citizens are a
people.
little different.
I'm not looking
Oh,
for that.
Yeah,
but-
Bayside's
but
got a very expensive
Why would,
rec fee.
why would the rec fee for one be the exact same as the rec fee for another? Because the impact is for the number of
Because
people
seniors don't
involved.
really have that much recreation, and our
Okay,
code
bad
says
example.
it's a little lower than,
Does it go by unit, Hal?
it's unit, it goes by unit.
It goes by unit, so the more units you have, the more you,
The more the rec fee
More
would
you're
be.
gonna
That's your measure of population.
So it is
Yeah.
a scale of some sort.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
all right.
so you're talking about 104 units.
Right.
At today's $1,500 per unit, it's $156,000.
Oh, I did not know.
For an apartment
Okay,
building?
again, when I asked was it a flat fee, I didn't realize it was a flat fee per unit.
it's per
Okay,
unit.
okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
All right.
so somebody came in the other day, they had a subdivision of 2 lots.
Yep.
One lot was the parent lot, the other lot, they wanted to build a house. They were charged $1,500 for that, where they were gonna build the house.
All right.
The parent parcel doesn't get charged. So let's say, for instance, you had 2 acres, right? And you want to subdivide for your child or whatever. So you subdivide it into 2 parcels, right? One parcel becomes a parent parcel, the other parcel is your buildable parcel, and you get charged the
On the
$1,500.
buildable parcel.
Yeah.
All right, okay. I think the big answer was it's per unit.
No,
not
it's per
yeah,
unit.
Okay,
Per unit.
great, thank you.
Chief? On the workshop topics, CSX crossing, I think Councilman Baker sent the detailed outline of the meeting. I thought it was it was a good meeting. We had the Vice President of the Government Affairs for CSX there. We had the guy from Albany, who's the Director of Safety, I think, I forget his real
From
title.
CSX?
Yeah, no, from DOT.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty high up there too.
He's an older gentleman?
And Gregory Hart was there, all the usual suspects.
Yeah, I got I think I sent you a message. I got an email in the morning that I was to have a conference call at
Right.
like 9:45.
It's all right. Gail Apple Jr. was there. It was a very good meeting, so. What are we doing, guys?
Yeah, right.
We're just looking at something for those fees. And like they're all those fees that were approving through Chris is on the fee schedule. So technically, they probably should be not changed
Are they
till
escrow or fees?
escrow.
Escrow, planning board escrow deposit is part of our fee
So
schedule.
technically, we probably shouldn't be
So just
changing
wait for the
to
reorg.
And planning board
Even though
fees.
we approved that we're gonna do it, but
Right.
the reorg is probably when they would get changed.
Kick in.
Aren't escrow and fees different?
Yes, they are. They're planning board fees,
But it says escrow.
and then there's escrow deposit fees.
Right, aren't they different? Can't we make a move on the escrow?
Well, they're both in our fee schedule, which
Okay.
Scott says we adopt in January, so.
We could do that then during our reorg.
Yeah, I guess we've approved,
So I just wanted to point that out, that we
we've,
need to be on the.
we've approved to change them in February, or in January, rather.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And so do you want to add anything to CSX crossing?
No, it was a good meeting. Alan, I don't know if you spoke to Gail.
Yeah, I did.
Gail was there, Appler Jr. It was good to get all those people together. I'm sure it wasn't easy to get them all there, and,
Yeah.
you know, the thing that, the change was that the DOT is sort of insistent that we go through this review process for the moving the crosswalk to the south a little bit. So that caught us by surprise. We thought that was a dead issue, basically. It's my understanding, right?
Probably still is.
Right. And CSX sort of said, we always take the position that we don't want to change, because we don't, because we think it's a safety hazard. But that's our standard position. It doesn't mean it can't be overruled. So we'll see what happens. Now, I don't know how long this whole do we have to do something official tonight, Alan?
Not
Al?
official tonight, but the gentleman from DOT was going to talk to the lawyer,
Yes.
Donna,
Mm-hmm.
I forget her last name, and then he was going to notify me what exactly I had to do as far as a resolution to invite CSX to our meeting and have a public meeting on the crossing. That was the process Gregory Hart always said. But the point I was trying to make is that once we got Ron involved, Ron actually asked Donna what's the chances of getting a second crossing there, and it was like nilch, you know, couldn't do it. And so that's what I explained to the gentleman, and then he said, well, let me look back, let me give Donna a call, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, he
Matter
was,
of fact, I called him today, I left a message to see
if he had any
how we're
updates.
proceeding, because if he would have told me, yeah, you gotta do it, I would have cut a resolution for tonight, but
Right.
maybe we could do that at the next meeting, hopefully he'll call me this week.
My question I had though is, if, say they did approve the southern one by miracle,
Yeah.
are they still gonna leave the northern entrance just open?
They'll
No.
gate that.
They are gonna keep.
They'll gate it, and they'll give the keys to the fire company and to the
Emergency
CSX
control.
if they have to do any work on the track.
So in one way or another, that main thing somehow's gotta be gated.
What they're gonna do, guys, is that spot is a big launch zone for all their maintenance equipment, so they're never gonna close that.
Yeah.
That cat's already been out of the bag.
Yeah,
So that's why they don't want to approve the new crossing, and they're not going to abandon the old crossing, because the old crossing is their launch point and their exit point for when they do all the track work.
But you're saying they won't put a gate there?
He
yeah,
doesn't think,
eventually they have to, because they have to bring it up to safety standards. It's not at safety standards now. As Alan keeps on bringing up, there's only a few others, or maybe in the county, that they really have to. I know that the UCTC has a bunch of them, one being in
Saugerties.
Rochester and a couple other places.
Town of Rochester.
Saugerties. So it's ongoing with these people. But the dance gets bigger, and we'll see what happens now that, you know, hopefully Maurice got involved. Like I said, he's the vice president of public relations and government public relations, and he seemed like a reasonable guy. We'll see.
Yeah, he
So
did.
we're getting higher up in the scale. We'll see what happens, you know. I was kind of surprised that the DOT guy, who's the director, flatly said, no, you know, we not only, you could close the gate, but we want a pedestrian on-grade crossing over there. I was like, because he's saying, the roadway, when you turn down, it's a safety hazard, as you're going down Dock Road, so you should have it.
It offset.
And then Robert from CSX says, well, there's a turn in the bend a little south from here.
Yeah, come
So-
on, it wasn't much of a bend. But the other good thing, they talked about grading back the fill that
Yeah, so-
pushes against the fence, so that
So
would be
that's
great,
been a
right?
thing that's been going on.
Now,
They said, what
if
did
they
he
do
say?
it, I don't know.
Do it.
It went through 2 or 3 roadmasters? And
Yeah.
that was the reason? They
Yeah,
weren't
roadmaster is the title of the guy that in charge of the actual work. They
That's
call them
why they haven't
roadmasters.
finished the actual crossing right now?
I don't know why. I don't know why.
That's another story. They said they're gonna do that in November.
I mean, why take the whole?
I guess they had the rail, how long have the railroad?
6 months. It's
New
been-
ties, the railroad ties have been? The new
What's that?
railroad ties have
They
been?
just, the the Saturday before last, they actually sent the work train through and piled up the railroad ties.
I think they were waiting for that, because those are gonna be put in place and
No.
then once.
Do I honestly think that? No.
6 months just to fix that? I mean, that's crazy.
No, yeah.
They said November, now they didn't say
Well,
what
same
year.
public.
I forgot to ask what year.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just crazy.
No, so
I mean, there's nothing
they
else
pulled
you
it
can
out in
do.
April and they'll put it
Everybody
back in
there.
November, which is basically,
That's just crazy.
I'd rather not say in public.
So we continue to play the dance, and we're not giving up.
We had a good dance, though. We danced a slow dance with them. It was
It's like a
nice.
game of musical chairs that the music never goes off.
Yeah.
But does it seem like they don't want to fix that crossing
They don't want the
because
cross,
they don't want people to really cross?
they don't want the crossing.
Is that
there.
why, they're kind of like
Exactly.
dragging their feet?
Absolutely. They
They
don't want
don't want
anybody.
the crossing there.
That's how you're taking it?
No,
That's-
that's why they ripped it out in April and they say they'll finish it in November. That's the entire park season.
Right, so it's the end of the park season, so
Yeah.
the whole summer, no one could really,
Yeah.
yeah. That's kind of hard.
Very frustrating.
Do you have anything on Ulster County Planning Board recommendations for zoning statute amendments? Is that what we discussed? Those are the recommendations, and we actually did it in this resolution that's coming up.
I think so, yeah. Okay.
Exactly. I don't have any correspondence. You guys have anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
He's got that.
And then we have public comments. Ralph?
Where's James tonight? I can't believe it.
I saw him today.
I had a couple comments. First one is 9W southbound lane in the driving lane in front of the Dunkin' Donuts. A pothole has been developing. I thought, oh, I'll go get some of the gravel and fill it. And I had better thoughts because somebody's going to crack a windshield. I know it's a state highway. It'll take about 3 shovelfuls of blacktop, maybe 4, for the highway to go down. And when I said something to a highway guy, ours, he said, oh, that's a state road. We can't work on it. Do that on the state road. Can somebody get a hold of DOT?
I will. I'll
And
do it tomorrow.
fix this hole?
I'll try.
All right. Question about this forester that was here. They're paying the town so much money,
Yes.
all right? Do we know how much they're estimating that would come in?
Around 50,000.
All right. Do we, under our bidding and what have you, rules, have to do an RFP for this service?
You know, I looked into that. I don't believe so. We have actually two proposals. One from a couple years back, like he suggested that he went and marked the trees. They were already marked.
Right, but is a 2-year-old proposal good today, 3 years
I
later?
think so. When I call up, the proposals still stand.
Right. And what is our requirements? Is it for 2 or 3 proposals? Is it
You
written?
know,
Is it
I'll
verbal?
check into it tomorrow and I'll talk
I'm
with the
just
lawyer.
asking
I
because-
don't know with the
Because we might get some,
procurement,
somebody
is-
else might come in and give us 60,000 on an RFP. So,
Well, actually, they found more
Yeah, than last last time.
logs than the previous one.
I'm just bringing it up because there
I
are,
think you brought it up once before,
Yeah.
and I should have done my
Right.
homework, but I think I looked at it and I didn't think it was a big deal.
and just as a little follow-up to what we were discussing earlier about the credit card use, all right? I don't know how many water bills you do send out. We send out
Like
1,200.
1,400 or something like that?
Yeah, over 1,000.
It's over 1,000.
Yeah, 1,400 and
About
something.
that, yeah.
We send out 1,200 water bills every 6 months and 1,200 sewer bills because they don't go on the same billing. All right? Historically, before we shut down the credit card system, we weren't getting even 10% of the people paying by credit card or check or whatever they could do on the online system. And it was a system at that time we were using KVS, which was the town was using also at the time, I believe, for your water billing. And the company that they had us go with just blew it. It got so that somebody would pay with a credit card, or somebody would pay with having their checking account charged with a check, and we would get the report the next day. We would credit that person's account. 2 days later, we got a reject. Now it became quite an issue. So I'm only cautioning you, I don't think it's going to save as much traffic as you think, but good luck. We shut it down until we switch over our whole system, and maybe we'll start it back up. But we had only a few complaints when we shut it down, because there was probably only 30 or 40 people using it per month.
How long ago was that, Ralph?
We shut it down about within the last 6 months. And we had it up that it was doing fairly good for several years. And then all of a sudden, all heck broke
The
loose.
rejects were because people's credit cards were not valid any
The
longer?
credit card didn't have enough maybe credit on it, or for some reason, the bank account that they were using for a check to be written on wasn't there. I don't remember all of the reasons. I
Yeah.
don't get into the day-to-day process,
It
but
happens.
it was not a
It's supposed to
pleasant.
be the same as a
and
bounce check.
We actually got to a
Get them
point
once in a
where
while.
2 of the water bills, we had to write off. Luckily, they were only a few $100s, but because there was no way to catch up with the people, the banks weren't helping, it was all internally with banks and credit card company. And
Well-
the decision was made that we would just shut it,
in my-
and we shut it off.
This is not a big investment anyway. I don't see it as so. We'll try it. It
Right.
seems like,
Right. My
You
only,
said you talked to Walkville?
I did. I didn't get a percentage of their,
But they were
users
happy
and,
with the system, and
what's that? They
They were
seemed
happy
happy with it,
with
yeah.
we'll try.
right. My only consideration would be is that if I was a user in the water, as a water user, right, and I would be paying by check or cash, I don't want to share in the 800 or 300 annually. It should only be charged to those people that are using that service. Why should somebody have to pay extra in their water usage fees because a few people want to use credit card or checks or whatever? We didn't have that extra charge. It was all on the user. They had to pay the extra fee. Our software company didn't charge us extra to set it up. So that's my only complaint. I'm not in the water district, so I don't really care, but if I was, I would be here
That might have been
saying,
why it wasn't used.
All right,
we
thank you,
shouldn't have
Ralph.
to pay.
Appreciate it.
Friendly, maybe.
We pay for it, we don't use it. We talk about the can.
Okay.
Service, right? These are just services.
that's the difference between government and a business.
You do things for a
I just
service.
wanted to, Tim Lawton again, wanted to share a positive note. I was able to volunteer and work on the trail building.
Saw
at
your picture.
The park, and it was really a rewarding experience. I look forward to joining in October if I can. I'm assuming in October it might get finished. You're hoping that?
I think we're almost there, yeah.
Cool, cool. I went down to look and see what
Bring the
progress we made.
champagne.
Yeah, I'll do that. The last time we did a project, I actually brought rye, but I'll bring champagne. I don't mind.
Well,
The other one is just an offhand question. Many meetings ago, early in the summer, midsummer, you guys approved a zoning change for 132 Milton Turnpike from something to agricultural.
Yeah.
And I started to notice that they now have a really large tent on the back of the property and a sign for parking. Do
Where
you
are
know
we
what's?
talking? Are we talking to Dome?
No, this
This
is,
is on his property. It's funny you say that because my sister-in-law just brought that to my attention
well,
last night.
if it's zoned agricultural, but if they're doing weddings or something like that, is that appropriate?
That's Jeff's piece of property right
Jeff's
there.
property.
Yeah, I thought they were just having a personal party or something.
Huge tent, though.
Oh, it's gotta be 50 feet long.
It's like a circus
Yeah.
tent.
It absolutely is. It's for a wedding. One
Yeah.
of his friends is getting, I'm sorry, one of his wife's best friends are getting married on his property.
Yeah,
That tent has been there
My
for more than a
sister-in-law said
month.
it's been 2 weekends in a row.
Oh, it's been there for more than a
I
month.
don't know how long the tent's been up. I know I picked up a trailer from him last weekend, it was up.
She said it's been there at least 2 weekends, and they had parties 2 weekends.
Longer than that.
So I don't
And
know.
they've had parties, as near as I can tell, they've had a party
So that's
each
what she
week.
said. She thought originally it was just a wedding, but then it was still there, and they were having more parties, and there was parking, and,
There's a new driveway that's been installed.
yeah.
Well,
And
I mean, it hasn't
I'm
been-
just curious. I don't know what the
site
town,
plan hasn't been in front of the planning board, but, I mean, you could have a wedding, and you could have a party, you could have a tent.
well,
As
sure.
long as you're not charging anybody, so I don't know what the circumstances
Well, I was
are.
waiting, I was gonna ask my brother tomorrow, just to run up there and ask Jeff, hey, what's going on?
Right.
I mean,
Jeff told me that the new driveway was for the big barn that's there. The access to that barn is on that far side, which was overgrown, didn't have access. And he told me this is the second wedding he's having. First one was Joe Van Amber, and then this one is his wife's.
Yeah, but are they having weddings like this is a new,
No.
like a business?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it a family wedding, or is it a,
He
is it?
led me to believe it was his friend. He didn't indicate that they were
I
charging.
just, that's all, we just wanna make
But then
sure, I
again, we
mean, that's
didn't
a
have
good.
that close of a conversation.
Thank you for checking with your brother to see what he has
Yeah.
to say. I think it's a little fishy, but I just wanted to bring it up and let you guys know.
I went by there and thought, geez, a nice place for a wedding. I thought the same thing. What does the P stand for?
Provincetown.
Provincetown, okay. I thought pirates or something like that.
So,
It's funny he brought that up, because that's exactly what she just told me last night.
It's only been 2 weeks.
I'll see tomorrow. I'll ask him.
They ask him when he
Okay,
gets back.
moving right along for resolution number 70. Resolution 70 to prepare and submit an application for the purpose of securing grant monies for the town court. Supervisor Lanzetta proposes the following, whereas the town of Marlborough desires to submit a 2018-2019 Justice Court Assistant Program grant application, and whereas said application will be for the funding of video surveillance, desks, and a courtroom sign, and whereas said JCAP grant application must be signed by both the town justice and the town supervisor. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Marlborough authorize JCAP grant application to be made on behalf of the town of Marlborough. Now therefore be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Marlborough authorize the town supervisor to sign the JCAP grant application and moves for its adoption. Danielle?
Councilman Corcoran?
Yes.
Councilman Koenig?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Supervisor Lanzetta?
Yes. All right, Resolution 71, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's to authorize the filing of a negative declaration. Supervisor Lanzetta follows the following. And before I do that, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
No motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. That was-
That's what I was gonna ask.
Hang on.
I could find out about it too, until you start reading.
So that's to approve me to sign that, the secret review. And then moving on, do you want to do?
Well, yeah, roll call for that one.
Resolution for the secret review?
Supervisor Lanzetta?
Yes.
Councilman Corcoran?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Koenig?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Fourth day.
Resolution 72, to adopt local law number 5 of the year 2018. And we've gone over this law for 3 months now, so, and it's on our website, and anybody could read about it. It's, I think we're there. So the foregoing resolution was duly put to a vote, which results as follows.
Supervisor Lanzetta?
Yes.
Councilman Corcoran?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Koenig?
Yes.
Let the building begin.
Okay. Alan, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ah. Thank you, gentlemen.